G'day everyone, Prep Aussie here. I hope you're all well in whatever part of the world you're watching this video. Today is Wednesday, the 6th of March 2019, and the time here is 09:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Well folks, as you all realise, plenty going on. I've got lots to talk about, so let's get to it. First, a word from my kind sponsor, Totally Rawsome. Golden activated turmeric paste. Look folks, if you haven't tried this stuff, you're missing out, honestly. I would be absolutely cream crackered without this stuff. My knee would not be as good as it is. Contact details for these guys down the bottom here. Contact, and they're now only at the Bundle Farmers Market at the Arts Centre every Sunday from 6 till 12. Like I said, give it a go folks. If you haven't tried it, get some. If you've got joint pain and you're old and what's the term, busted up like me, give it a go, because otherwise you turn into pharmaceutical drugs and they're shit and they don't work and they kill you. Okay, I'm going to show you something interesting. This is almond milk. No, I'm not getting sponsored or anything from these guys. The interesting thing about this is that our family no longer drinks cow's milk. We haven't drunk it for, we've actually did an interesting test with the kids. I haven't drunk cow's milk for years. And my kids have always said to me, you know, why don't you drink cow's milk? And so we said, okay, well, let's give it a couple of months test. You guys drink this stuff, and we'll, you know, then you can go back onto cow's milk and see what happens to you. All of them got rid of the constipation they had, bad breath, stomach aches. This includes my daughter, because remember, women are told to drink cow's milk by the gallons because it's got calcium in it for your osteoporosis. You know, the really bad one that kills you all. If you can't get enough nutrients out of eating nuts, vegetables, meat, if you need calcium from cow's milk, there is something wrong with you, logically thinking. Like I said before, if you're walking along a path and your instant reaction is, oh, I'm going to go and sack on a cow's udder, then you need help. It's not a natural human instinct, folks. Humans are the only mammal that continues to drink other animals' milk after we gestate. Why? Because they spend billions, and I mean billions of money on flashy carton colours and stuff so that you're drawn to cow's milk. It's a farce. Okay, but on this here, I'm going to put the specs on, hang on, because this is important. So anyway, I was reading this, and on here, can you guys see that? It says something really interesting. Try and get into focus if I can. No, not going to do it. It says, and I'll read it out to you, no carrageenan. You know, I was actually crunching up one of these bottles, put it in the waste, and I was like, what is carrageenan? So there's me, my wife, and my other son in the kitchen, and we said, okay, well, let's ask Google. So we asked Google. Folks, you would be shocked, absolutely shocked. Now remember, this is almond milk. This is supposed to be really good for you, okay? This one is, actual fact, inner goodness one. This is good. This is actually really, really good. We came across this one by default. We used the Almond Breeze, you know, the ones they sell at Aldi. Okay, guess what carrageenan is? It's widely known to increase your inflammation, cause heart attacks. It's this stuff that comes from bloody seaweed, red and green seaweed or something like that. It's the actual thing on Google said it's highly toxic. And they're putting it in bloody almond milk, for Christ's sake. What is wrong with people? It's highly toxic. So we've been drinking almond milk for the last year or so. You know, we flipped over from soy milk because of problems with soy milk, because we don't want our boys drinking it. And we went to the almond milk, not realising, like, there's no sign on it telling you, you know, carragenon's really bad for you. And man, this stuff's like lethal. So it's just, what I'm trying to get across here is that your perception of what you're actually eating is probably shit, and it's killing you, even though it's supposed to be good for you. So unless I'd seen that, we would never have known. So we had a couple of cartons of the other stuff left. The actual thing on Google was so bad, we tipped it all out. How's that? And it's in almond milk, and it's probably in a shitload of other stuff as well. So yeah, not impressed. Okay, I want to move on to something else. This is a safety bracelet or rescue bracelet. It's got the whistle. Sorry. It's got the compass. It's got the fire starter. It's got everything else on it. Now, I'm actually going to start. My son and I are going to start making these, and we're going to sell them, but we're going to do them differently. Did you realise? You see that little compass on there? Now this is important, folks. Army blokes know this. Regular idiots like me do not. I should do, but I did not until recently. See that little compass there? How do you know that that works? Because here's the thing. A northern hemisphere compass will work in the southern hemisphere, but it will be up to 5 degrees out, maybe more. A southern hemisphere compass will work in the northern hemisphere, but it will be 5 degrees out. Do you know how far 5 degrees is on a compass? You're talking gazillion miles. Now, if you've bought these from America, Singapore, China, wherever you bought it from, go and throw it in the bin, because I can just about guarantee you that that compass there is a northern hemisphere compass, and it ain't worth jack shit to you. If you actually rang them up and asked them, they would say to you that they're mass imported from China, which is in the northern hemisphere. Now, the difference that I'm going to make, and here's the rub, the reason why these are all $15 or $10 or whatever they are, the paracord bracelets, is because they're getting all these, the compasses, from the northern hemisphere. I sourced the compass, and I'm telling you, there is not many. I think it was 2. There's 2 companies that make southern hemisphere clamshell compasses. One of them, Sumitomo. Can't remember the name of the other one. So, and they're bloody expensive. The reason being, there ain't many people down in the southern hemisphere compared to the northern hemisphere, I'm guessing. But they're bloody expensive. So, the point being, the paracord's good, the whistle's good, the fire starter's good. Chuck out the compass, because it ain't worth shit. You're better off using your watch if you know how to use your watch, if you had second hand. Okay, so that's really important. So take note. If you've got one of these, you got it from Google or Amazon or whatever, I could probably guarantee you that it's a northern hemisphere compass. And if you're sitting in Melbourne, Sydney or wherever, and you've got it on your wrist, it ain't worth shit. It ain't going to get you where you want to go if you know how to use it. The other thing is, can you actually read that? Look how small that is. That's ridiculous. So I'm going to start making them, and I'm going to start doing them properly. Okay, 1 second. Okay, now I'm going to read this to you because this is in regards to the Melbourne meeting, and it's important that you guys understand just how hard it is to get together, because in our society we're taught, fences, houses, everyone lives in a box. don't you? Really. And, when do you meet people? Everyone's a killer. Everyone's a rapist. Everyone's this, He's a crazy man. They're, whatever. And look, I understand that. A couple of years ago, my kids think it's funny. I did door work and bodyguard work for a long time. So my natural inclination is everyone's an arsehole first, and then I meet you, and then maybe you're a nice person, if I give you the time of day. Well, a couple of years ago I changed that, and I started to realise that it was, I was missing out too much on life, sort of thing. So I started, wherever I went, I'd actually make a point of actually saying g'day to people and, inquiring what they do, and the information flow back. Now this is important. The information flow back is always double what you can usually give out. You meet some amazing people that you never would have met otherwise if you just sort of went, no, up yours, not interested. So yeah, look, it's been a big sea change for me. I'm still a little bit, don't really get it. Don't let too many people into my environment, as you can probably understand. But I'm pretty cautious, and I haven't been perfect over the years, but I'm getting better. Now, I want to read this email to you because it's kind of along that vein, and it's important for you guys to understand this on the other side, okay? Dear Prep, the Melbourne meeting held at our place just past Ballarat has been and gone. Total preppers there, including me and my sister, was 7, which we all admitted was a piss poor effort. However, we all had a good time and came up with a few ideas between us that we found helpful. For example, I showed Nathan where a 2.5 acre block of land with a big shed on it and fruit trees, chicken coop and container was going for $50,000, right beside a massive supply of trucked in wheat and silos. So he's happy he can now move out of Melbourne and have money to survive and bug out with. That's if he buys it. I gave Jenny a bit of inside information on where to pick up silver below cost price by going to coin shops and picking up shit worthless silver coins that they just sent to the smelters to get rid of. Good point. Richie told us all how to get a gun and bought up his guns and bow sets. And everybody laughed at my idea of where there is an EMP attack and no petrol and all the horses have been eaten and there is no transport, that a few steam cars would keep us all moving, even though I thought it was brilliant, but they thought me putting a spare car in a container in a giant EMP bag was a good idea. They also laughed at the fact I was going to try and bug out with a small rotary hoe to make it easy to emergency turn a large amount of soil for a quick planting of seeds. Richie had survival and defence books and disc he was going to duplicate for all of us and bought us his bug out trailer to show us and test it. It was a small meeting, but everyone had a good time and thought everybody else missed out on a good information swap. Other Melbourneites gave some weak excuses for not turning up, and Mark, who could not make it, told us beware of trolls and nobody seemed to be a mole. I think everybody else in Melbourne expected to sit down in Melbourne at some sort of pub and have a can of meal and chat over the table. Instead, we all stuffed ourselves with food and sat on the shade patio and had a fun time in the middle of nowhere discussing the shit happening in the world. So later I shall make a list of YouTube videos it may pay you to watch. I think another Melbourne meeting would be a good idea, but I must say it should be held out of Melbourne again to get those lazy Melbourne bastards preppers out of the city for their own good. Because if they haven't got the ability to get off their asses to get out of Melbourne, they will be stuffed when the shit hits a fan because of lack of survival information. But my sister says that there should not be another Melbourne meeting out in sticks, but in Melbourne for the Melbourneites because most couldn't get off their asses and get out of Melbourne. Us 7 can now have the ability to chat with each other, which is extremely important. Thank you for starting it. We all appreciate it tremendously. Anyway, I've raved enough, blah, blah, blah. Look, my point here is that he's actually right. See, unless you've got an acre of land in Melbourne, or no, sorry, let me say this again. Unless you've got a pretty good bug out situation in Melbourne, with your full-on vegetable garden in your backyard on a 600 block. Don't know how you're going to do that. You can, but it'd be just about near impossible. Then, guys, you can't stay. The first thing is to bug in. Then you got to get out if you're going to have to get out. So where are you going to go to, and who are you going to turn to? Because I can tell you this much: you show up in a town, a country town, with 5 kids, a car, dog, cat, and no food to support yourself and that. The first thing they're going to do to you is say, go that way, don't stop, because you're just an extra added problem for that town. And don't kid yourself that ain't going to happen, because that is what's going to happen real quick. People are going to realise that the shit hits the fan, and when that truck that usually comes on Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays to deliver shit to Coles, Woolies, the local, whoever it is that's in their town, Aldi, but usually Coles with Woolies, hasn't come, and it's not coming, and the food's all gone from the shops. You want to be the most experienced bug out survivalist in Australian history to stay in a town like that, because they don't want you. Matter of fact, they'll probably knock you out and take all this stuff off you because you're no use to them at all. Steal your car and still tell you to walk out of town. My point being is that unless you're prepared to actually meet people, exchange ideas, right? Cross ideas over, learn, be prepared to learn other people's ideas, and be prepared to learn, then, even one of the most experienced survivalists can learn something from the least experienced. And that's a motto in life. You don't know everything. If you think you do, then you're a smart ass, and guess what? You're not wanted in the town anyway, so piss off. So my point being, you have to exchange ideas. You have to have a wingman or wing people. Give you an example. Those 7 people now, I can guarantee you that they will meet outside Ballarat, wherever that place was now. And those 7 people will see the signs beforehand, and they'll actually be at that place before the shit hits the fan and get set up. Whereas you're still in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, wherever, and you still haven't got there because you're bugging in. So when you go to bug out, where are you going? Think about that. Where are you going? And if you've got kids and family, where are you going? That's a big one, folks. Where are you going to take your family? How are you going to look after your family? Because I'm telling you, if you're going to do this yourself, I will personally send you a white t-shirt with a bullseye on it. Because that's all you're going to be, is one big bullseye. You ain't going to last jack shit with doing it on your own. You need people to help you get through what is going to happen. Just remember, America's 50 trillion in debt. China, it came out last week, is now 47 trillion in debt. 47 trillion. The world economy is about the same, probably worse, trillions in debt. This can go on forever, but somewhere along the line, the inflation line is going to hit the debt line. And bang, we've got hyperinflation literally overnight. Now, unless you're living under a rock, have a look around you and just listen to what's happening in Australia with real estate. Talk to any tradies you know, and you'll notice that people are actually starting to now pull their oars in, and they're not spending as much. I've got mates of mine in the game, tradies game, and they are struggling. Literally struggling. They're getting work, but it's bits and pieces here and there. There's not that big work that used to be out there a year ago, or even 6 months ago. Some of these guys were absolutely flat out up until Christmas, and they're expecting to keep going after Christmas, and there's been nothing, absolutely nothing. Stuff all. So things are just deteriorating just a little bit more every day. And if the RBA is actually physically continuing to tell people that they will have to drop interest rates, they said it again yesterday, then there is a huge problem coming. I will say one other thing as well. If you're in WA, you need to now start thinking about getting out of WA. I don't say that lightly, because you're in the most isolated town or city in Australia, in the world. It's the most there's one other place that I think it's the most isolated city. Yeah, it's the most isolated city in the world. So what happens when the supply chain breaks to Perth? No ships from China, no trucks from Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney. Yeah, you can bug in, and I guess if you've got nowhere to go. But when things start deteriorating, who's going to supply Perth? The Australian government? Yeah, right. Just think about it, folks. Because I'm reading stuff from Perth every single day now that is making me absolutely crap myself. Don't worry about what the iron ore price is doing, etc., etc. Because I can tell you right now, China recently cut their coal quota by a gazillion. Now, you need coal, unless you're absolutely dumb and you don't know what's going on, you need coking coal to make iron ore. It's as simple as that. Now, if they're not buying it, what does that tell you? Now, China can keep stockpiling iron ore. There's no two ways about it. But the price will just literally go through the floor. So I'm warning you. I'm actually warning you. If you're in WA, you're in Perth, you need to be absolutely 110% on ball. On point, as the Americans say. Because there's some hard times coming for you guys in WA. There's already been a number of shop closures in WA where eastern states have actually closed down shops and they're pulling back to over east. You all know about that. You know which ones they are. So listen, the underlying problem is not getting any better. It's actually getting worse. They're trying to prop it up each time, but you get to the point where the weight is so heavy it just collapses the whole building. Okay, right, I'll leave it there. A couple of announcements. I'm speaking to a couple of guys, Dave Lee and Clay from Australian Survivalism, about doing some interviews. And I'm lining them up for later on, hopefully on Saturday. They're not the same people, they're different people. So we're trying to do a collaboration thing. Hopefully we'll get that going on Saturday morning. Apart from that, let's do the prayers. Okay, verse of the day. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. And as always, folks, we'll finish with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. All right, folks, I've gone on enough. God bless. Prep out.